This is BBC One.
The 1 o'clock news from the BBC with Philip Hayton.
Good afternoon. 4 television stations lose their licenses in the shake-up of independent television. Thames and TVAM bid too little. TVS and TSW bid so much it raised doubts about their programme quality. Warning to the winners, your licenses are at risk if you don't keep your promises. Doctors warn the government as it prepares to announce a new wave of self-governing hospitals. The American Senate approves Judge Clarence Thomas despite charges of sexual harassment. And how a tune-up could clear the air and keep you on the road. Today's decision ends months of speculation and marks the biggest upheaval in British commercial television history. The 4 unsuccessful companies will end broadcasting at the beginning of 1993, threatening months of uncertainty for the ITV network. The system for awarding the licenses to the highest bidder, providing they pass a quality threshold, has been controversial ever since it was devised. Critics say it benefits no one but the Treasury, with less money available for programmes as companies struggle to meet their cash commitment. Certainly, the successful bidders will pay very different amounts. Central Television, which was unopposed, bid just £2,000 a year for its licence. Yorkshire will pay almost £38 million. The ITC received 40 applications for the 15 regional franchises on ITV and the breakfast licence currently held by TVAM. There'll be 4 major changes. TVAM has lost its franchise. It made profits of over £26 million last year, but was outbid by both its rivals. The licence goes to Sunrise TV, who outbid TVAM by £20 million. Thames TV, the makers of Minder and This Is Your Life, have broadcast weekday programmes in the London area for 23 years. They were beaten by Carlton TV's £43 million bid. Carlton promises nightly hour-long news bulletins and a new soap opera. 2 of the other companies lost their licenses on the basis of quality rather than price. TVS, which won the South of England franchise in the last battle for licenses 10 years ago, made a huge offer of £59 million this year. But its rival, Meridian, has won, despite bidding only £36 million. The ITC decided TVS wouldn't be able to maintain programme quality if it had to pay £59 million a year to the Treasury. Similarly, TSW, which covers Devon and Cornwall, also made the highest bid in its region. But it lost to West Country TV, which bid just £8 million, less than half TSW's offer. The ITC said TSW lost because it promised nothing spectacular.
Just after 10 o'clock and they were opening champagne at Britain's newest and largest ITV company. Carlton Television bid more than £43 million a year to oust Thames Television, a supplier of weekday programmes for London and of many programmes for the whole ITV network.
Well, naturally, we're very pleased at the result. We felt that we had put forward a very high-quality application, and we're looking forward to the challenge of building a new broadcasting service for London for the 90s.
Carlton's little known outside the television industry, but it's a large multinational company which makes much of the computerised high-tech equipment used in modern broadcasting and many programmes like Inspector Morse.
Where the hell have you been?
Finalist. Local paper turned over.
It's a black day for Thames.
1,000 jobs are to go as the company switches to independent production.
Thames will now hope to sell programmes like Minder and The Bill to the new ITV, to satellite television, or even to the BBC. Thames staff were bitter.
Well, we're appalled. We think that in large part it's due to a vindictive piece of legislation passed by this government following the excellent Thames television programme Death on the Rock.
The 10 members of the Independent Television Commission and their staff used their discretion to the full to weed out those applicants whose programmes weren't good enough or who bid more than the Commission thought they could afford. Today, the Independent Television Commission said less money than had once been feared would be leaving ITV.
8 of the 16 licences have not gone to the applicant who on the 15th of May put the highest cash bid in the envelope. And the Treasury will get more money, but not much more.
2 ITV companies lost their licences because they'd overbid. Southampton-based TVS offered £59 million a year. Its licence will go to Meridian Broadcasting, which bid £36 million. And West Country Television was celebrating today after ousting Plymouth-based TSW. TSW's managing director was highly critical of the auction system and said the company might ask the courts to review the Commission's decision.
We made the highest bid because those were the rules, and we've lost. The whole thing is like Alice in Wonderland. We're deeply disappointed, but I'm most of all disappointed for the people in this company who worked so hard during these last difficult 18 months.
The luckiest companies of all are Scottish Television and Central, which gambled correctly that they face no competition and bid just £2,000 a year each. The wide differences in the amounts bid could create problems in future because some companies will have a lot more to spend on programmes than others. But the Independent Television Commission hopes that in the long run, viewers will notice little difference. Programmes could even improve if companies can afford to keep their promises.
Granada Television, which makes Coronation Street, has kept its franchise, even though it bid considerably less than its rival. Northwest Television, led by Phil Redmond of Brookside fame, offered £26 million more for the licence.
As the company which made television's longest surviving soap opera, Granada were initially confident about their own survival prospects. But the competition got rough. Northern ITV companies began cross-bidding for each other's franchise. Heading the rival challenge in the Northwest was Phil Redmond, independent producer of another successful soap, Brookside. His bid was backed by Yorkshire Television and Tyne Tees. But today it was Granada TV in Manchester which was celebrating victory. The challenger's bid of £35 million failed because the ITC doubted the quality of their plans. But Granada's bid of £9 million was half their rumoured offer.
We thought it might be sensible to offer the Treasury a little more money than they'd got in the past. But we wanted to offer a decent return to shareholders and keep enough money behind to continue to make programmes of quality, range and diversity, which are the new words for Lord Reed's old ones of information, education and entertainment.
The bid that kept Coronation Street and Granada together may have been financially cheaper than expected, but there was another price in jobs. In the last few years, in slimming down to a commercially leaner operation, Granada shed nearly a third of their staff, leaving them with 1,100.
Yes. Have we got that champagne?
5 well-known television faces went into the launching of TVAM nearly 9 years ago. Robert Key, Angela Rippon, David Frost, Anna Ford and Michael Parkinson celebrated their first early morning broadcast in February 1983. They were full of hope. A brand new television station had been born. But financial difficulties, together with internal rivalries and resentments, ran TVAM into trouble in a matter of weeks. Peter Jay resigned as chairman. A month later, Anna Ford was fired, along with Angela Rippon, for expressing their opinions about the company's difficulties to the press. But after years of seesaw fortunes, financial and staffing crises, TVAM's managers were expressing confidence that they were now financially stable and well established in the business of early morning television. Then came 10 o'clock this morning and the bombshell.
Naturally, we're very deeply disappointed at the decision of the ITC. All the staff at TVAM have demonstrated a great deal of skill and commitment in working together to create what is the outstanding breakfast television service, not only in this country, but in the world.
Basically, it's been unfairly treated. I think that what's happened here is you've got a highly successful TV company, the most successful in the entire network. It's got 75% of the viewing audience. I can't see a reason why it should chop its legs off, actually, when it's grown so strong and so sturdy. If you're going to argue about the so-called quality, then that's an argument you should take up with the viewers who watch it. They make the choice, and there's plenty of choice around it.
In the city, shares in the winning companies rose, while the shares of the losers generally fell. Dealers believe, however, that companies like Thames could have a profitable future as independent programme makers. Some of the losers are threatening legal action, claiming the system for granting the licenses is unfair.
The finances of commercial television have been controversial since it started in 1954. It was then regarded as immensely profitable, a license to print money. It was Mrs. Thatcher who decided that the restrictive practices and overmanning for which the industry became notorious had to end, and so she introduced today's system of auctioning franchises. The idea was to create leaner and more efficient companies, which will be more profitable and therefore pay the government extra cash in levies. All existing franchise holders like TVS and the new entrants had to submit sealed bids for what they estimated they could afford. The system's been much criticised and will be more so after today. Some companies will be paying much more than others. Carlton, winner of the London Weekday franchise, has to pay £43 million a year. Tyne Tees is committed to paying £15 million, but Central, which was unopposed, secured their franchise for a mere £2,000 a year. The author of the report on British Broadcasting says the government shouldn't have conducted the auction this way.
It's absurd to have had an auction of this sort without a reserve price. And the result is, and I think there will be a lot of dissatisfaction with the fact that quite major companies are going to get away with paying virtually nothing.
There's been further controversy because TVS, which makes the Ruth Rendell mysteries, made a much higher bid than its rivals, but lost because the Commission felt it couldn't sustain its programme output after paying such a high levy. The City took the announcement calmly, but doubts remain about the business prospects of some of today's winners. Some analysts reckon the weaker ones are vulnerable and may eventually have to be taken over.
A short while ago, I spoke to the ITC chairman, George Russell, and asked him about the criticism of the new franchise system.
Well, it is a difficult system. I think it was an attempt by government to try and find what the franchises were worth, rather than a central diktat saying this is what you will pay. That has been the attempt. It's been modified throughout, and out of it's come a shape that I think will be reasonable. It has not drained the system of money for the Treasury. It's affected some change. Change was bound to take place because competition was pouring into our system. But I think from the viewer's point of view, they're likely to get good quality programmes for the next few years, although the next year will be very difficult because of the changes.
Isn't it a crazy system, though, where Central Television are paying £2,000 and a similar-sized company, Yorkshire, are paying £37 million?
I think the first point of that is that Central Television had a reserve price which is 11% of the total advertising revenue. That's what they're paying, and they chose to go a route that said they would pay £2,000 more and see if they could win on their quality. As it happens, nobody bid against them, so they won with consummate ease, as you see. Others chose to bid high to ensure, on a no-risk basis, they would win. And it is a system that is bound to provide this divergence, but surprisingly enough, it is averaged out in providing the same sort of money for the system as before, but different players will have more money to use.
Under this new system, what sort of changes do you think the viewer's going to notice?
Well, the obvious changes are that two major contractors in the south have changed. Therefore, the breakfast franchise will have a different appearance a year and a half from now. Will the viewers lose the sight of the major Thames productions? Thames are a major company. I would expect they will be supplying programmes to the network or to Channel 4 or to the BBC. I would expect Thames favourites to continue to be shown somewhere on British television. There'll be a major independent producer.
How do you ensure that the winners in this new system are going to fulfil their promises?
Well, the first way of ensuring is we have to think that we've judged them tightly enough in their financial plans to be sure they've got the money to do it. It is always, have you got money to do these things, unfortunately. We then have very strong powers to penalise, fine or remove the franchise if they're not doing it.